Alrighty, guys. We are live over on this side. I don't know if you can hear my heater, but I've had to turn it on because it is chilly in my garage house, which is where my studio is. First, wanted to say a monumentally huge thank you to Tesla owners of Silicon Valley. $50 super chat. I salute you, Brian, on this podcast. There's never been a more exciting time for Elon and his companies. The previous administration stopped that and has been working. The past week has been redemption. Let's go. The previous administration stopped that. I don't know what specifically was stopped. If you want to pop your thoughts in the chat for this video, we will address that. Also, $2 also from Tesla owners of Silicon Valley. Please support Brian's work. Thank you. I appreciate that. This is what makes the channel happen. Okay, I'm going to move this where I can see it a little closer to the camera. Oh, let's see. Bill Gates drove around London in a Wave and uploaded a video. That's great. Uber added to the money raised. My Doge is up. My Dodge needs a new carburetor. A carburetor? That's an old Dodge. It's been fuel injectors for a few minutes now. We need 2 people to run the Department of Efficiency? Suspect. So Vivek is, when I first saw that, I was thinking, that sounds like Elon's been sat at the kids' table. So I looked up Vivek's resume, and for this department, I think he is a fine choice. He has experience as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, and if that's how the advisory suggestion paper is going to be written, that's the right person for the job, I would say. But again, we'll have to wait and see. I do want to ask also in the comments, what do you think about my assertion that this would start as a, 40, 60, 80 hour a week job for a few weeks, maybe a month, while he does all the hard work, and that it would scale back on hours after that he would bring in all kinds of experts? Do you think he could do it in 10 hours? Do you think this will cut into SpaceX, Tesla, boring Neuralink time? Let me know. Or will he just lose his Diablo rank? Apparently he's top 20 in the world, which is very difficult to do. I hope Elon understands the government is not Twitter, and I hope he doesn't get thrown under the Trump bus. I think that that's a real concern. We've seen it happen to other people. We've seen it happen to Elon last time this was the president. So I am definitely concerned about that. Transparency would be refreshing. I agree, Scott. Yes. Let's see. Scott, it will be transparent is what Herbert said over on his channel. I'm excited to see what will happen. Me too. I'm cautiously optimistic, which I've been about a number of things. Sometimes I'm right and sometimes I'm wrong, but I'm cautiously optimistic. I do like the idea that they could find little things that no one could argue with. If they try and do a huge bill that's going to cut everything everywhere by a third, it's not going to pass. Congress, it would be career suicide for the members of Congress to vote for it. And they care about nothing more than their own careers. Nothing more. They love America, but not as much as they love their own careers. David says, this may sound tedious, but I'm glad there are guardrails in place. This is in reference to Richard saying that, there are checks and balances. And I think by the end of the show, we all kind of agreed that this is an advisory role. This isn't an empowered position that can actually do those things. LJ Hughes is saying those guardrails are gone. Unclear. Elon's not going to the IRS and saying you are fired. I agree with that. I don't know what the OMB mandate. Office of my butt. I don't know what OMB is. If you can tell me in the chat, we will take a look at that. This is not an advisory role. So this, I think we addressed, as long as it stays clearly outside. If he is working in the government, then it is a government role, whether you're paid or not doesn't really matter. You can't just say you're outside the government when you're not. You have to actually be outside the government. All caps. Let's see. Elon won't be given a task and completely ignore it. I think you're on the wrong channel, Richard. We don't. I mean, I don't even know what this is about, but zoom out, zoom out. This lawyer doesn't understand that this is, so I'm not going to pretend I know legal matters better than a lawyer. If you believe that, that you do, I respect that opinion, but I don't have the doctorate of jurisprudence to debate him on that, on those merits. But I do know I've seen a lot of, like I was saying, in real estate, a lot of cases where people believed they were within the boundaries of the law because they put it in the contract. Putting something in a contract only counts if it's legit. Just saying something is legit doesn't make it legit. You need to ask, do you understand that this is an advisory role? I think we did ask him. So thank you for that, bow hunting redneck. Let's see. DOGE to the moon. Okay. This cutting can all be handled within the framework of Office of Management and Budget. Aha. Thank you, Scott. The OMB mission makes this process possible. I don't have enough information on that. We'll see how that goes. Elon is the president. Don't say it too loud. People said Steve Bannon was the president under Trump last time, and that got him kicked out of the inner circle almost immediately. Can Elon save the EPA and NOAA, or is climate science dead? I don't know. I don't know how killing entire departments works. You can certainly defund them, but I don't know if OMB could do that. So that's a question beyond my scope of understanding. And the reason you guys are here is because, unlike other channels, when something is beyond my scope of understanding, I don't tell you what it's definitely going to be. A lot of people like to just talk. But that goes back to term limits. And I said, term limits won't pass. No member of Congress is going to vote for it. Hopefully, adding a new position in government will help make government more efficient. Ironically enough, possible. Let's see. The best agency is no agency. The wink is appropriate. I mean, obviously, we need agencies. It takes a lot of agencies to run the world. It really does. Thank you, Rob. I appreciate you. Appreciate the super chat. These are how I keep the channel going. I'm going to ignore the beep. It is me turning off the heat because it's warm enough for now. We'll be getting into the chat on this video momentarily. We're still going through the chat on the previous video where we answer questions. Today's topic was the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. Many corporations are greed-based, not humanity-based. Agencies keep them in check. Yeah, we start with no regulations. I mean, wouldn't it be nice if the law was don't be a jerk? Wouldn't that be great? Except everyone has a different definition of what a jerk is. So we're like, okay, well, we have to add thou shalt not kill. I mean, that's a clear one, right? Okay, thou shalt not steal. My gosh, we have to keep adding to this. Now we have to specify which things and how. Was it stealing if I use this method or that method? We have to add those. There are too many laws on the books. Yes, but for a reason, unfortunately. The agency of agency cutting agency. Scott. Scott. That is a good one. Machu Picchu 2 said, good one. And I agree. Leaderboard is how you track success. So yeah, that would be another question I have for you in the chat is, how do you measure the success? If the success is cutting 2 trillion or even 1 trillion, say so. I'd like to hear that, because having metrics by which to measure what has happened. Is it reducing headcount? Is it reducing deficit? Is it reducing the debt? Which things would we point to as evidence of this having worked? Because I'm all about the data. I'm all about what's verifiable. And like I said in the previous show, every candidate for office for the last at least 35, 40 years, but probably for 100 has said, I'm eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse. And magically it doesn't happen, not because anyone supports waste, fraud, and abuse, but because saying you want to do something is easier than doing it. Okay. We are going to go bankrupt. I disagree. Elon is a genius businessman, a brilliant engineer. But like many things, when you get outside your area of expertise, your dominance can fall off precipitously. He also said 2 years ago we were on the verge of a recession, and he said it every quarter since then, and it only stopped saying very recently. So that's, kind of weird. Let's see here. Which shows chat am I in? Okay, good. I'm in the right one. Let's see. What do you think of the past week? Debunk It is an AI webpage that has a conversation with your family members that have conspiracy-based opinions. It converses with them. No arguing. It's very impressive. I'll have to check that out. Let's see. The DOGE leaderboard is a measurement of success. I hope so. The leaderboard will reveal, data inefficiency. Let's get through these. I'm going to share this tab real quick because I've got to say thank you to Colin for becoming a supporter, and thank you to Thomas for the super chat. We'll get back to these questions momentarily. Getting through these, how are we doing on time? Amazing. We're doing amazing on time. That's great. Because I'm getting hungry, man. I haven't eaten today. Just had coffee. Yes, a household can't print money. It's a bad metaphor. That was in response to David. Let's see what David said. Running a country is not like running a household budget. It's not. A country goes bankrupt when their debts are no longer valid. As long as you can service the debts, it's valid. Can they delete the Department of Education? That scares me. I don't know the answer to that. We saw a report yesterday or the day before, maybe 2 days ago now, that there is an intention to remove the Department of Education. I find that to be a not very good idea. But in the comments, do you guys know anything about that? I don't mind dog meat. All right. Hatch Act has nothing to do with foreign policy. It's about campaigns. Yeah, I don't really know about the Hatch Act. I cannot speak to it. Facts. People get grumpy when Tesla stock is down. I wonder if it's down enough for people to get grumpy. I don't get grumpy when it goes down. Just like on Monday's show on Randy Kirk's channel, he said, "We're very excited today, aren't we?" And I said, "Are we?" Because it was up, but I don't follow the daily swings. I'm a long-term investor. My horizon is 15 years. I have high confidence that 15 years will treat me well. By the way, if you haven't already smacked the thumbs up, that's how people are able to find this video. I would appreciate it if you get a chance. Let's see here. Definitely not legal advice, because that is the name of, that is a homophone for the name of Richard's channel, Cannot Legal Advice. Around 75% of U.S. government is enshrined in law. And that's something I've seen before. Discretionary spending is very small. So the laws would have to be changed. Well, we're going to close this thing, right? But you can't. A lot of times you just can't. I had brilliant ideas about how government should be run before I knew what governments were. And the more I knew, the more I realized I didn't know. And it is hard to turn a large ship, and this is the biggest ship in the world. I heard you, Josh. Let's see. Nothing here. Yeah, well, we have to speculate. It's the hottest story of the day. People have been asking us to cover it, so we're doing our best. Pork, pork, pork. You sound like a good friend of mine who is a chef in Sweden. He's not actually my friend, but he does have human hands, which is very weird. How many of the agencies he wants to cut can be replaced with AI? I saw an answer to this from, I want to say, somebody here. Anyway, the answer was not many. Not many, because it's, there it is. No, wait. Not AI. Yeah. And the answer was AI is not sufficiently mature to make safe, to conclude that it is safe all the time to do its things. Elon is the ultimate multitasker. Yeah, he would put in outrageous effort to get the ball rolling, and then you don't need as much effort to keep the ball rolling, and at some point the report would be complete or sufficiently complete to move it to the next step. I want Trump to hit Elon with his captain's hat like the skipper did. That's funny, David. For those of you, I would say for those of you who don't know Gilligan's Island, but in the chat, has anyone here not heard of Gilligan's Island? Let's see. Brian is correct. You can't create contracts that are not legal. He got the number 428 off Grok. Why don't we just reduce it to 420? I mean, that'd still be progress. Okay. I think we've got enough of these. Private companies are not government. Yeah. You can go into Twitter at the time, now X, and slash 80%. There's very little that can be done about that. They had to pay some severance, some reorganization costs, but they did it and they moved on. Letting go of 10, 20% of the federal workforce would be quite a task, even if it's possible. Where's the wall Mexico was going to pay for? As Brian said, this session will be completely controlled by the GOP. I asked them, just tell us what you're going to do, and then we can watch you do it. If you do it, 2028 is in the bag. If you get close, 2028 is in the bag. If none of it happens, you have no one to blame but yourselves. But I don't think none of it will happen. I think quite a bit of it will happen. Whether it's good or not, that's something voters can decide at the next election and the election after that. More important, let's get to today's chitty chat now that we've finished that one. I made it. Hello, everyone. Hello, Jack. Hello, Slower Cuber, Nomadic, Epic Strategy. Who is this? Scott, of course. Damien. All right, let's chat. It'll cut into his Diablo time. It seems so unfair. How are we doing on time? We're doing great on time. This attempt to untangle the wasteful bureaucracy of federal government will be the most challenging. Oh, I think you're right. Tangle is the right word. It is a mess. And you'll identify something and say, well, let's get rid of this, and find out, no, the law doesn't let you get rid of that particular thing. Maybe you could grab something else and move it into it. I think it's a real house of cards that you're trying to build on a moving ship at sea. Something I have done unsuccessfully. It was pretty funny, though. Your thoughts on Elon's time, because that is how he likes to get things done, like taking over Twitter. Yeah, you go in, 21 guns a-blazing, and you get it done. He's definitely getting thrown under the bus. Possible. It's happened before. A lot of people forget some of the things that Trump said about Elon in the past, and to describe them as unflattering would be an understatement of absurd magnitude. They were obscene, and I mean, in court, I think you would call those fighting words. If it is done in a methodical way, anyway, I'm okay with cost cutting. If it's arbitrary like X and the charging division of Tesla, that is a concern that will destroy lives. I didn't want to push back too much on Nico. He is a great guy and he's a smart guy. But his example of people said it was dumb to cut the supercharging team, but it wasn't. It was dumb. I called it out at the time. I lost subscribers for it. And Elon backtracked within days. Elon agreed that was a dumb move, that was an emotional, impetuous decision that should not have been done. Good talent was lost. There was a battery, a charging conference taking place in the Midwest at the time of the brutal slashing of the removal of the department. And recruiters got on the phone to all those people and said, guys, every charging company in the country, probably in the world, is here in, I think, Michigan. Come on up and you'll get a job. And the most desirable people left. The department appears to still be running pretty well. Fine, I would say. As good as I would expect. It was a mistake. And there are other mistakes he has made. The big thing on X is the spam is bad. The scammers have free reign over X. They are aggressive. Many of them have blue check marks, and they are relentless. So that was the big goal, was to get rid of the spam. And the other goal was to protect free speech. The number of removals based on government requests is at an all-time high. It went up after he took control. So I'm not sure that the objectives have been met. Investors definitely think it hasn't. You would think that with all the recent successes that the investors would be valuing it higher and higher, but they keep writing it down as partial losses. So I think as a hobby, he's done very well with it, but as a business, not as much. Although, if it helped get the president elected, and the president is going to cut your taxes, it was a very small investment. Will Elon have time to work with Doge? Yeah. I mean, he's very good at making time, like ridiculously good at it. Here, the total outlay revenue is where the 2 trillion savings comes from. Right, but where? Because there are some things that need more funding. I would argue NASA could use more funding to get Artemis to work. And you could say, well, no, SpaceX needs that funding, but SpaceX's funding comes through NASA, through the Air Force. Well, the military could cut its budget. The story on the $200 hammer, by the way, isn't that the hammer costs $200. It's that they're trying to hide money that went into black ops, things that we won't see for another 10, 20 years. Things like the stealth fighter and stealth bomber. They have to move the money around somehow. Yeah, let's go back to $5 hammers. The problem is now you have no future tech being built or something like that. If I'm wrong on that, please let me know in the chat or the comments. Did everybody remember to give it the thumbs up? I hope so. Your guess on hours of work may be a little optimistic. He will have to throw himself into this, so maybe 4 months, then decreasing over time. He doesn't have 4 months. He's got to work on all this stuff all at the same time. He's got to, I mean, if he can take 4 months off from Tesla, then retire. Because if you can take 4 months off, just be chairman of the board, or I guess, what would it be? Techno King, or yeah, if the company can genuinely run without you, retire. Let's move on to the next chapter. I don't believe that that's quite the case yet. SpaceX is running very well without him. His help, I'm sure, is great, but Gwen Shotwell is a master. And I think all of Elon's businesses need, or may even already have, their own Gwen Shotwells. You mentioned on the stream that the FAA is underfunded. Do you not think that DOGE would advise an increase in funding if that's the case? Oh, that would cause an outcry, I think, if Elon goes in and says, cut. Oh, this one thing that affects me personally, increase. I think that would face backlash. The success is if he doesn't fire any of them and it doesn't turn into a storm. Let's just call it that. Yeah. A normal way to do a reduction in workforce is to use attrition or buy out people who are close to retirement. You can prune a lot of people with just a hiring freeze. People leave all the time or retire all the time. And a lot of companies, when they need to downsize, will start with the people who have the most seniority and say, hey, why don't we buy you out and you can go home now instead of in 2 or 3 years. Cutting 2 trillion is difficult. It's difficult is the polite way of putting it. Yeah. Look at the federal budget 2023 infographic and you tell me where you can find 2 trillion in savings. A lot of the savings is not available. It's not discretionary. Yes, one must say homophone carefully these days. I heard you. The most amazing thing about the U.S. budget is that it is socialism for me, but capitalism for you. Everybody wants everybody else's programs trimmed and cut. Yeah, it doesn't affect me. I see that in local politics a lot. Why am I paying for the school district when my kids have already graduated? Well, because your kids did graduate. Thank you. I didn't have kids when your kids were in school, but I still paid my property taxes. And, your choice to have kids or not have kids, to have kids in private school, and because you feel that it's a better use of your resources, that's great. But education is critical. Many countries do not have free public education for any age, and it makes a division of classes very stark. That's why you sink the current ship and build a new one with everything you learned. Yeah, sorry to hear that you were hacked. Wondered what was going on. Yeah, I got hacked. But it's better now. So that's why I published 2,000 videos the other day. A lot of people didn't realize how many videos I'd published over the years. It's thousands. It's really tough. It's a lot of work. Those poor people. Still okay on time. We're going to get through a few more. Any last minute questions, now is absolutely the time to get them in. And thank you all for being here, by the way. And thank you for interacting in the chat and for leaving comments. If you're watching this later, relentless is an understatement. Are you living outside the U.S.? Nobody watched old bad U.S. comedy. Gilligan's Island is available in 30 languages. Yeah. The role of World Health Organization for pharmaceuticals is to ensure transparency. Defunding it does not ensure transparency. Helping them become efficient would help transparency. Let's see. Are you living? Let's see. That's the black budget. You are mistaken. It's X is dead. I have to make sure my kids are not near me when I open it up on my phone because it's adult content all the time. My kids stopped using it. And it wasn't because of that. It was because no matter how many times they would unfollow and block political stuff, it was all that they were being shown. They were there for gaming and anime and things like that. Politics, nonstop politics. And they just decided, I'm done with it. So unfortunate, but let's see. Damien, thank you. You seem like a reasonable person. I hope your trust in this guy's character turns out to be true. Thank you, Damien. I am not sure which person do you mean? Which person's character? Wow, 10th super chat on a live stream. Thank you, Damien. I appreciate that. Transparency will enable increasingly vigorous public scrutiny. He can't just cut an agency, and he has to redelegate the work that they were doing to a different agency. I don't know how you cut an entire agency. I don't know how you take two and combine them. And this problem is not unique to any one party or any one president. This situation we're in has been a culmination of all kinds of disasters over, over the entire history of the U.S. This is the final test is cumulative. Scott, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I said something to my brother once that he said, my gosh, that's profound. I said that in school, you like to ask, is this going to be on the test? And is the final cumulative? Are we expected to remember everything from the entire quarter? And a teacher once told me, life is cumulative. You're going to need all this someday. Yeah. If anyone wants to burn down the whole system, that's fine. But first tell me your plan for something better. That was always my problem with repeal and replace. Replace with what? I still have never heard an answer to that question, and we've been asking for 20 years, 15, 20 years, a long time, a long, long time. Our medical system is still broken. Can Elon really destroy OEMs by ending tax credit? No, because at the same time they'd be ending the tax credits and ending the battery credits, they're also trying to repeal the efficiency standards, so they just go back to building gas guzzling SUVs. That would give them a lifeline for 10 years, perhaps, until they are out of business or only selling in the US and maybe Africa. Because all that would do is push us further into isolation. So let's hope that doesn't happen. Because I don't want those companies going out of business. I know it's like, oh, I want my team to win. Right, but my team is the transition to sustainable energy, not just Tesla. I don't want Tesla to win at the expense of everyone. I want all ships to rise. Still got a couple minutes. Philum, welcome. Your argument assumes that those agencies are useful. Most are not. I don't know which agencies you mean, but I imagine there's probably no agency that you could share with me that I couldn't argue on behalf of. I'd have to look them up first and see what they do. The things that are useful, I mean, if I wanted a world crafted around me, yeah, we could do it with 5, 10 agencies probably, but the world is bigger than me. And like what is the agency that offers arts grants, endowment for the art, National Endowment for the Arts? That doesn't affect me, except it does because I've seen the art, I'm sure, a million times and just never knew it. It keeps the spirit of art alive. And I think that's something that'll even grow in the future. All I can think of is Parks and Rec. When I think of government efficiency, all I can think of is the low cal calzone zone. Did I get it right? Do you know anyone who works in government? Aunt, friend? Happy to see them fired for no good reason? Yeah. I don't want people fired for no good reason. There are agencies that could be more efficient. The people I know who have worked in government have said they always try to be more efficient, but the way the system is designed makes them inefficient. So hopefully that is something that can be addressed in the future. Guys, I did not have time to get to all the other chats, which is probably for the best because there was some real nasty comments that were more political than analytical. I like to talk policy. DOGE is a policy issue. The politics of it is going to be very difficult, but we'll see what happens. And a lot of people failing to zoom out. We need to zoom out. We need to look at the reality and look at history to try and instruct us on what we might expect in the future. We're definitely in uncharted territories, but that doesn't automatically make everything different. We're not in bizarro world. So we will see how it goes. We don't need government in every aspect of life. Why do they need to be involved at all in art? Let the private sector deal with it if they want, in that example, right? And you can argue that, and I can argue the opposite. Again, National Endowment for the Art doesn't affect me. It's not something I have a vested interest in, but I get it. I get it. Most great artists were dead before they were popular. Fun fact, how many paintings did Van Gogh sell in his lifetime? The answer may surprise you. It surprised me too. No, that's the answer. It's 2. Thanks for hanging out. Subscribe, like, do all the usual. Stay tuned and juicy, and I cannot wait to hear from you clever so-and-sos. Yes, that's right, I insulted you all collectively. On the flippity flop.